Welcome to Talking Giants player profiles and projections, and today we are starting with John Michael Schmitz, the center out of Minnesota, picked with the 57th pick in the second round. Justin, I'm so happy that we're able to do this player profile projection, and especially as saying a second rounder. This was a guy who I identified like in the midseason, preparing for the midseason mock draft. We go down to the Senior Bowl, excited to watch him down there.
Best player all week.
Best player, yeah, most consistent and best player down there. And then we were in this frustrating place where we were like, with his age, you know, he's 24 years old, doesn't have the fastest feet in the world. It's like, I really like this guy, but not at 25. But where I do like him is like where we've picked in the second round in years past, which like 40, 36. And that's where I thought he would go. Because I thought, he's probably the top interior offensive lineman in this class.
But he didn't.
But it was like, man, maybe he gets there. And NFL teams, they fell in love with the athleticism of guys like Joe Tippmann. And lo and behold, round 2, pick 57, John Michael Schmitz becomes the Giants starting center. And, man, I am freaking excited for it.
Yeah, the Giants fully invested in an underrated important spot, and I think the rest of the league is catching on. Who had that tweet recently that center's one of the, they're like the most underrated position in the NFL?
Brandon Thorne, the O-line guy.
Yeah, so I think people are catching on. Our guy Nicky Snacks has been, on the phone with me for years, being like, I think center's like low-key that second most important position in the line. I've always called the center the captain of the O-line. I grew up in Pop Warner, being like, I am the captain of the offensive line at center, and, setting the tone of whatever the play is going to be. And I think the most important thing about John Michael Schmitz, in terms of him coming to the Giants, he's logged 35 career starts at center, missing only 2 games, one because of injury, one because of opt-out, the last three seasons. So he has experience of not only being durable and not getting hurt, but this guy is a lifer and a career center. And the Giants have been asking guys to transition from guard. Nick Gates did it well, but still asking guys to transition from being tackles and guards, or taking centers off the street and can we make it kind of like a reclamation project? No, John Michael Schmitz is a highly touted center and has experience of being a center.
Yeah, and I'm looking at my first notes, like older center, so he's older for a draft.
Yeah, same age as Andrew Thomas, right? 24.
Yeah, just understands the position though in every facet of the game. He, at 6'3", 301 pounds, he has 32 and 5/8 inch arms. His athleticism is solid. Like he's not like some plod or anything. But I think that is what kept him from being a first rounder. Like for me, was like I just wanted to see more like, foot speed. I've been using a lot of my hands in these PPPs lately.
Pitty-pat.
Just like a Zudu does. Like if he had the speed of a Zudu's feet, he has better feet than a Zudu, but just the speed of a Zudu's feet.
He's a first round pick if he has the speed of a Zudu's feet.
He'd be a first round pick. But it obviously is best in between the tackles. Very strong, and it really shows up in his wrestling background and his hand power and his ability to work leverage with guys. Like he has some lean to it too, so it's not the perfect posture, but he fires off, man, and he lands his hands, and he just knows how to torque defensive linemen, and that creates big runs. And there was plenty of times at Minnesota where it's like, touchdown Minnesota, that run is happening. Muhammad Ibrahim is running in for a touchdown because of the block that John Michael Schmitz made. And again, like I said, he doesn't have the most athleticism in the world, but he was plenty athletic enough to work that wide zone stuff and flip his hips. And you saw him not just get to the angle and flip his hips, but bury the dude afterwards too. So his film was just so much fun to watch. As we didn't focus on tackles this year, no one's film to me was more fun to watch on the offensive line this season.
Speaking of Nicky Snacks.
Than John Michael Schmitz.
Speaking of Nicky Snacks. It's John Michael Schmitz's PPP. I just talked about you because what's the position of football that's the most underrated that you've been talking about for years, begging that the Giants address?
Center. Thank you.
How happy are you that John Michael Schmitz is a Giant?
It was my favorite draft pick in the last 4 years.
All right, thank you, Snacks. Have a good day. I'll call you later. Love you.
So again, in the run game, hello Snacks. He just understands leverage at every facet of the game in the run game, where he gets underneath guys' pads, he knows when to flip his hips, he knows how to work his hands, and it's just kind of like a work of art in the run game what he's able to do. Now, where I do think there is some struggle in the run game is working to the second level. can be a little like, it just doesn't always look smooth, a little herky-jerky to me, and there's times where he just misses the target and gets the timing off. Obviously, that has to improve as you're working more of those combos to backers in the NFL, and linebackers are going to be a lot faster than they were in the Big Ten. But that is the thing that I think he needs to improve on, and I think part of it comes because he is a little. He's not, playing with perfect posture. Like, he's got some lean to him, but I can live with interior guys having that lean to him, and we see guys, do that consistently.
Yeah, like the only minuses that I have is like being too aggressive and firing out of your stance, which results in leaning, where the upper body reacts sooner and quicker than the lower half, and that's like a mix between leaning and then also not having that foot speed, like you were talking about. But I mean, again, you would rather somebody maybe lean on somebody, I guess, a little bit, maybe even in the run game, because of he's an aggressive player and he finishes plays.
Yeah, if you lean and you win the point of attack, you're fine.
Yeah.
Because when you lean and you don't win the point of attack, that's where you struggle. And hey, it's going to be a transition to the NFL. Obviously, for preseason, we are going to be lasered in on John Michael Schmitz. Like Deontay Banks obviously was the first round pick. I actually have more leniency as a rookie for Banks than I do John Michael Schmitz. One, that comes with the age. JMS was an older player. But there's more refinement to JMS's game in college, where it's like I want to see some results right away.
Yeah.
Like I'm not perfection, all pro center. Hopefully one day, not this year. But I don't want. It can't be a disaster this year for John Michael Schmitz.
But he is 24, same age as Andrew Thomas. That is, it's a little bit older, and that was part of his draft profile for sure. It's a question on my brain. It's
with interior guys, it doesn't bother me though too much.
Well, with interior, so you and I agree with you when you've said this about interior offensive linemen. Specifically, you talk about guards, about how their transition into the NFL is pretty difficult.
Most of the time, it takes like 2 years.
Yeah. So, do you think John Michael Schmitz is inevitably maybe going to fall into that category, and also transitioning to the NFL level, especially when you consider the interior defensive linemen that are in this NFC East, because that does matter.
Yeah, and they're nasty, especially over from Washington. It's gonna center guard more so than center. Guard is like, it's just really hard. Center, you see guys come in and like Tyler Linderbaum he wasn't an all-star, but yeah, he had a successful rookie season. Creed Humphrey with the Chiefs, who fell a little bit. So center, you do see it. With guards, it's just like, man, it's a question of like, I'm willing to take a guard early, but the question is, well, are you? Because the first 2 years might be bad, and then the year three, and then you're having to sign. Then you're like, you're getting 2 years, good years. You have to sign to max contracts or big contracts. But oh my God, I just did push back on my notes.
Oh no.
Let's talk about him as a pass rusher, which is usually what we do with offensive linemen first, but it's just talking about his run film is so much fun. Said it like 15 times already. The foot speed is not great, but in college it didn't get him in trouble really. But he's got a great punch and hand placement and pass pro to extend and just keep guys out of his chest. And we talk about there being some lean in the run game. It's not there as a pass protector. And his feet, once he's connected, mirror really well. But it all starts with the hand usage, and you see that resting background where he gets his hands on guys. And when D linemen are trying to rework, he is replacing his hands and getting, keeping that leverage fight on his side. And again, plays with good knee bend and pad level, like a better posture in the pass game actually than the run game. But he is just able to get hands on guys and replace in a league that's not doing as many nose tackles anymore. Unless you're playing Dexter Lawrence, and Dexter Lawrence can really help this guy get better.
Leo too, yeah.
But he uses those hands really well to have really nice pass protection film.
I think we saw it most on display at the Senior Bowl. It was perfect. It was really perfect. It was just like coach tape. I mean, just balanced feet, the hands. I mean, like you said, you saw the wrestling background. I think all those things that you said about John Michael Schmitz's film, like I just the Senior Bowl sticks out to me the most because that was film that we saw it all week, and I was recording all those. Like it transferred to there, and those like 1v1 drills are designed for those defensive linemen to win anyway. And John Michael Schmitz just dominated all week, week in, week out. He dominated at the Senior Bowl.
Do you have anything else on JMS?
No, I'm excited, but also just cautiously excited because
He's a rookie.
And he's a rookie, and the NFL is a different breed, and these NFC East interior defensive linemen are different breeds too. But let's go JMS.
Let's go JMS, and let's go to the defensive side.
All right, before we get to the Cordale Flott PPP, we got to talk about Manscaped because they are back and they are sponsoring our summer camp series. So thank you to Manscaped. And what they got for you, they got the Manscaped Platinum Package 4.0. It's the one-stop shop for the man who deserves it all. And oh boy, do we deserve it all. They designed this package to allow you to fully align your entire hygiene routine with elite products. They got you covered from head to toe. Manscaped does. From your hair, where they have the 2-in-1 shampoo plus conditioner, they have deodorant as well, they have body wash, and of course they have the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer. And something that I use really often is their Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer. The Platinum Package 4.0, they got you from all the bases. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code GIANTS at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. When you use code GIANTS at checkout, use the Platinum Package because the gold standard is no longer good enough. Now let's talk about Cordale Flott.
And we're going to talk about Cordale Flott, cornerback, 6 foot, supposedly up to 180 pounds.
Supposedly
up to 180 pounds.
Did you think that he would gain more? Because his combine weight was 175.
It's for guys like me and you, we think of gaining 5 pounds is pretty easy.
I can do it in a month.
For guys like Cordale Flott,
I can do it in a week.
It's really hard for them to do that without it being bad weight.
Why did I say a month?
6 foot, 175 pounds, 30 and 1/8 inch arms for Cordale Flott. Was a 3rd round pick in the first year of the Joe
Judge.
I almost said Joe Judge in the Joe Shane Giants regime. Last year was called on in a role that he never really saw at LSU, and he played over 80% of his snaps on the outside last year for the New York Giants. He only played 29% of the snaps. He missed 6 games with a calf injury last season. But just a long, skinny, fast athlete who needs some work. But I'm pretty like when we did our camp position battles pod, I said, I think Flott should be the nickel corner. And it's like I'm definitive with that. Like it's time. Like he should absolutely be starting over Darnay Holmes come this fall.
Selfishly, I wanted to see more of Cordale Flott last year, but at the same time, if you're going to draft and take on a project cornerback who is really light and really young, playing him exactly how you played him last year was close to perfect. Plus, he had some notable moments, and that includes the 3 snaps in the in the playoff game where he had that pass deflection on Osborne on 3rd down, and it leads to the McKinney 4th down stop. Giants win a playoff game. And then also the Giants game plan whenever they played the Eagles twice last year, Cordale Flott was on A.J. Brown. And I don't necessarily remember there being bad moments there. Really, the only bad Cordale Flott moment that I remember is DJ Moore week 2 where he falls down and then DJ Moore catches a touchdown. He didn't get a ton of opportunities.
That was the only touchdown he allowed,
But also at the same time, Cordale Flott didn't get a lot of opportunities, but he got more opportunities and he got more playing time than I think a lot of fans think.
And he played, like you said, played 29% of the snaps. When he was active, he played 45% of them.
Yeah.
Last year was targeted 24 times, gave up 16 completions, 178 yards, and 2 pass breakups. So not great stats, but not liability stats either. He didn't look lost. Now the Panthers game, he did. They put him in as a starter week 2, put on the outside, and DJ Moore, cooking. But now DJ Moore is a great wide receiver. I think he's one of the more underrated guys in the league. But yeah, some of the best cornerback plays on the season were Cordale Flott.
Yep.
It's really a shame he didn't catch that interception in the first Vikings game in the regular season.
Yeah.
It was, just barely touched the ground. But on a cornerback room that doesn't get interceptions, Cordale Flott could be that guy. Banks isn't going to be an interception guy. Adore isn't that. Who had the most interceptions for corners on the Giants last year, and how many?
Corners. You're
You're going to get this wrong, so just throw out a guess.
I mean, nobody.
Rodarius Williams had one versus
Oh,
the Cowboys.
the Cowboys, yeah.
So like Cordale Flott could be like. Now I don't think he'll lead the team in interceptions. I actually would put McKinney and whatever other safety's playing over them, but at least for the corners, I think Flott hopefully can get like a couple on his own.
But Flott could lead him.
He's got that stickiness in man coverage where he can undercut and get underneath, and that's how you get interceptions in this man coverage defense. Where he can struggle, he's got to work on his game as a release, but he's got that stickiness to get back inside and just has a great feel for it. And get underneath, and we saw it again, the dropped interception or the non-interception in the first Vikings game. But then in the playoff game, he played 3 snaps in that playoff game and came in and had a huge breakup versus KJ Osborne on third
like a top
down.
5 defensive play all season for the
Giants. That was
Giants.
against a slot wide receiver in KJ Osborne. So although he played over 80% of the snaps on the outside, he is good. I want to see him play nickel corner. That's where I can see him, possibly, like popping off in the NFL.
Sure. And in terms of those interceptions, how often did we see Darnay Holmes losing contested catches last year? And that's what, teams would go there because they know that, hey,
recover in man coverage.
Darnay Holmes, sure, he's there, but he's not really there because he doesn't have the length and he doesn't have the size. And Cordale Flott has the length and he has that size, especially his length and size is an extreme advantage at slot corner where typically you have, those slot wide receivers, they typically run a little bit smaller than the outside ones.
Yeah. He has enough length, and I'm excited to see him play in this defense because I think he has the ability to press guys up.
Yeah.
Like for a guy who's, like scouting reports is small, it's like he plays physical. Like he does not play like a light corner. He likes to get up and be physical, and we've even seen in a little bit of camp practices. Like he can disrupt at the start at the line of scrimmage. And again, like I said, this is why I want him in the slot because he did have some good plays on A.J. Brown. Is he going to go out there and be physical with A.J. Brown? Absolutely not. Is he going to be physical with DJ Moore? Absolutely not. But he can be physical with the team slot wide receiver.
Yes.
He can be physical with KJ Osborne. He can be physical with, fill in the blank with whatever slot wide receiver that comes to your head. And then also with that, be able to has the speed and agility to stick in the hip and recover, and has like the ball skills to get into the catch space and do those things that nickel corner should be able to do.
Let me ask you a question because now I want to move to the run game. And you said kind of, hey, if there's a spot that Cordale Flott really needs to grow in, it's his ability to defend the run, it's his ability to stop the run. Are you saying that from a perspective of, hey, it's just because you're small and it's just because of your size? Because I honestly think, I thought he tackled well last year. I thought his film at LSU, he tackled well and he was very willing to get his nose dirty. And there was even, I don't remember a ton of times where Cordale Flott made like run stops last year, but there was a screen pass. There was a third down against Washington, the tie, where he makes a tackle on a wide receiver screen and he like goes through a block to make that tackle, make that third down stop. So I think his tackling is fine. So where's that kind of thought process coming from?
Like he's very feisty in the run game.
Yeah.
That showed up at LSU too. That comes from he gets bullied.
Okay.
Like as versus blocks. Like not like he's getting run over or anything. It's just he gets sealed off. And like that's how 8-yard runs turn into 30-yard runs.
Sure.
It's by DBs not getting off of blocks and being sealed off. And that's where he really struggled. Now, you would think on the outside that you're going to be facing bigger guys and better blockers, and there's some truth to that. But in today's NFL, slot corner is so huge as far as run defense. Like it's a really big part of run defense. And that is like, hey, we're not going to really get that answer in camp. How well, and you're not running these.
We're going to get it week 3 against Kyle Shanahan, probably.
Yeah, that's when you're going to need to see some of that stuff. How active can you be in there? Can you get off blocks and make plays in the run game like that? But that definitely is a concern. But at 180 pounds, man, there's corners that when I look at him, I don't look at him as rail thin. Like we've been at camp. When I look at Jalen Hyatt, I'm like, that dude's rail thin. When I look at Flott, I just don't see that.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of have a little bit of blind optimism on Cordale Flott right now. Turns 22 next month, still super young. I think we have this blind optimism because we didn't see him a lot last year, but at the same time, when we did see him, he made plays, and he was not a disaster, which I think is super important for those rookie corners. And like I said, I think they kind of played it perfectly last year, where because Cordale Flott is, when he was taken, it's seen as a little bit of a project because of how light he was and because of how young he is. But getting him out there enough to where he has experience, he doesn't feel like he's a straight up rookie, and he also made good plays. And I feel like having confidence as a cornerback is so important. I think they played it really well, and I hope that this blind optimism, that's not blind.
Well,
it's optimism. I have optimism for Cordale
He's a
Flott.
big swing player.
Yeah.
Like we go into the season, we know essentially what to expect out of Daniel Jones and Waller and Saquon. And then we know what to expect out of guys like Mark Lewinsky and other lesser players. Flott is on the list of important swing players. Like, he really is, because he's going to start this year. Like, unless he's terrible, he's going to be a starter this year. And right now, we haven't seen a ton of him. He is an ultimate. After week 5, we're overrating this guy because of he's playing really well, or after week 5, we're talking about this guy stinks, no career in the NFL. So we'll see, and give him some, but it's year 2. Like year 2, you should see something out of a guy, especially
third round pick.
Especially we're not putting him out there at number 1 corner or number 2 corner. Ask him to cover slot wide receivers. So.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, that's an episode. We will see you guys tomorrow. We appreciate you. Until then, let's go Big Blue.